It doesn't.
Sound like that you do.
That's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
That's true. In Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song. This cornerstone is solid ground, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are stilled, when striving cease. My comforter, my all in all, here in the love of Christ I stand. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless babe, this gift of love and righteousness, scorned by the ones he came to save, till on that cross as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied, for every sin on him was laid. Here in the death of Christ I live. There in the ground his body lay, light of the world, my darkness slain. Then bursting forth a glorious day, up from the grave he rose again. And as he stands in victory, since curse has lost its grip on me, for I am his and he is mine, bought with the precious blood of Christ. No guilt in life, no fear in death, this is the power of Christ in me. From life's first cry to final breath, Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand, till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Grace. We're so glad you joined us. I'm Bernie Cable Prokop, and I'll begin with a prayer. Good and gracious God, we come to you today with gratitude. Gratitude for the season of stillness and hope. Gratitude for the ability to serve those who are vulnerable in our families and our society. Bless our staff, our patients, and our donors with your unconditional love and peace. We hold you, God, in our hearts this day and always. Amen.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining in this morning for Coffee with Grace. I am so pleased that you can be with us. And while we may not be together in person this morning, I hope you've brought your coffee. I have mine, and I hope you are cozied in with your favorite slippers and sweater. Today, I come to you with a heavy heart for the challenges that have presented themselves in 2020. But this heaviness is overshadowed by the excitement for what we have to share with you today. The team of Grace Hospice are true heroes of this year. We have always treasured our time with your loved ones at the end of life, but during COVID, it has been with passion and dedication that our team has gotten creative and risen above any obstacles. Today, I don't want to tell you why this year was so hard. Instead, I want to tell you about how our team has shined and will continue to thrive in 2021. I want to tell you about our music therapists who continue to provide peace and comfort through their gifts of music. I want to tell you about Hunter, who leveraged technology to create Rosie the robot to conduct virtual visits. And most of all, I want to remind you that Grace Hospice is here and thriving to ensure that we can continue to support our patients and their loved ones emotionally and spiritually throughout the challenges of today and end of life. But before you hear from our team, I need to take a moment to tell you how much this team means to me. When COVID-19 hit, the entire world was struck with fear and uncertainty. As I watched friends and loved ones struggle with job security, it became very clear to me that I needed to ensure that our team did not feel this fear. So we committed ourselves to ensuring that our team stayed intact. No one lost their job. I've spent over 6 years building this team, carefully selecting each and every one of them specifically for the heart they possess as well as their skills. It is important that this team stay together. We are a family at Grace Hospice, and we are in this together. I have Angela here with me this morning. Angela is a massage therapist and such a pivotal part of our team. Angela, would you mind sharing just a little bit about your job at Grace and your personal experience during the past few months?
Yeah, for most of us that chose to go into a career that involves caregiving is what we do. We take care of people. We didn't want to have to stay home, and we didn't want to have to learn how to do the things apart on Zoom. We wanted to be able to touch and love and take care of our patients in person. When the ancillary team learned that we were going to have to stay home in order to protect our patients in the community, we knew it was the right thing, even though it felt really hard. Not only did we have to worry about the pandemic itself, but many people all over the world were losing their jobs and were worried about that. It was such a huge blessing that Grace Hospice was able to keep the entire team intact during the whole shutdown and for the last many months. We are so thankful. Once we were allowed to go back into the field, Grace provided us with the proper PPE in order to feel safe in doing our jobs. It has been such a huge blessing to be a part of this team in the easy and in the hard times.
You're right. In order for this team to keep working, we had to find the proper PPE to be in the field. In March, April, and May, those supplies were so hard to come by. We became very creative and found some. I'm so grateful to have those now.
I also really appreciated how this team provided mental and spiritual support. The signs in our lawn to show the gratitude and recognition really went a long way. Oh, also, during this time, Grace Hospice has created space for the staff to participate in book studies, open discussions regarding racial justice, what our roles are, and how we can have our efforts make positive changes in our communities. I'm proud of the work that we do.
I'm committed that Grace will continue these discussions. As we continue to support the team, we recently had a drive-through meal for everyone, a pizza and a pie. Everyone loved that.
Exactly. It's in these little moments that remind us we are in this together, even when we are physically apart.
That's right. Angela, I hope you know how much I appreciate you and how much I appreciate everybody on this Grace Hospice team. So refresh that coffee and get comfortable as we allow the stories from this past year come to life through the people who experienced them firsthand.
Hello, my friend. I hope this note finds you content and comfortable. I also hope you have moments to look outside at the beautiful fall colors. I picked a special poem for you this note. It's called Flowering, and it's about life. Pick a crevice, a homey gap, between stones and make it your own. Grow a life here from wind, rain, and the memories of ancients embedded in limestone. The bees will use you for their sweet honey. The rock will soften under your touch. You will draw moisture from fog and hold it. Your presence will build soil. This is all we have in this life, all we own. A flowering, an opening, a gap between stones for tiny, tender roots. You've asked me how I've had to be creative serving people during COVID, and it's true, it's been a real challenge. And I have patients that I've never met and never even seen, and their families are far away, and it's just been hard. So I've chosen to write notes of encouragement, and I spend time with scripture and with poetry in different ways, thinking, what really might this patient need or enjoy? And I trust that somebody reads the notes to them, and I trust God to provide whatever they need. And I have later found out that some patients have carried the note cards in their hands, so it gives me hope that it's meaningful. And I've had to be creative in a lot of other ways too, like how do I support the families? And how do I do televisits? And how do I do the calls in a meaningful way to families? And even in prayer, I keep a prayer journal. I call it the COVID prayer journal, and it has lots and lots of prayers for staff. So yeah, I've had to be really creative. I really love writing notes to a particular patient. His life is absolutely amazing and inspiring. His whole life was dedicated to working with victims of torture all around the world, people who've experienced trauma. And it inspires me. And even though his faith belief is atheist, I still am able to find things that I believe he will know are meaningful and respect him and honor his life and hopefully be inspiration too.
Let this be our prayer. When shadows fill our day, lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, give us faith so we'll be saved.
My name is Pia Sektnen. I'm a volunteer for Grace Hospice. And how did I get here? End-of-life situations kept showing up in my life, and it felt like a natural place for me to be with people who are nearing the end. So I researched further. I became an end-of-life doula, and during the training, I asked questions about hospices, about inquiring the next step. I heard people talk about Grace Hospice very favorably, so I looked into it, and I loved how genuine and heartfelt it looked on their website. Contacted Sarah, and here I am. My role as a volunteer is important because I do not have an agenda. I am neither a nurse, nor an aide, nor a therapist. I simply show up and offer my time. I think I feel like a safe base for the patients because I don't want anything from them. I don't need to do anything with them. I'm reliably there. I'm a calm presence that keeps showing up, and they find comfort in that. I got an email probably from Sarah asking if anybody would be willing to write a letter, reach out to someone, just because that's all we can do these days. So I thought, well, sure, I can do that. But I seriously doubted how would I ever be able to make a connection by writing a letter to someone who I had never met and knew very little about. And then I thought, but just the act of receiving a handwritten letter can bring joy to someone, so sure, I'll do it. And I wrote my card, which talked about how COVID has changed our lives and how much more quiet it got and how there could be comfort in the new routines and how much we look forward to seeing each other again when we can. And then I ended the letter with a German greeting, herzliche Grüße, which I translated. It means greetings from the heart. I mailed it off and I thought, okay, I'll be doing this maybe once a week. It will be a one-way relationship. And was I in for a surprise? I got a letter back and it was also handwritten. I will call her, not her real name, I'll call her Tanya. She wrote, oh my, I can't believe it. I just had to write you. Pia is the name of my mother. And I am an immigrant from Netherlands and I love playing the native flute. Which I thought, well, this is it. I am also an immigrant and I had acquired a native flute a couple of years ago. So we also shared that. So we had found common grounds and we dove right into it. We wrote a couple of letters and I unfortunately had to go to Germany in a family emergency. I was gone for 2.5 months, which we kept up the letters very sparsely with my husband's help. When I came back, we started talking on the phone and the native flute was always part of every conversation. And then the opportunity opened up, outside visits were possible. So we decided, let's meet. And Tanya was so excited, said, you have to bring your native flute so we can play together. And I thought, oh my, what did I do? I owned one, but I never really learned how to play it. So leading up to our first meeting, I went on a YouTube frenzy and tried to learn how to play the native flute because I so did not want to disappoint her. Don't ask what my family thought of that. And so we met, the day came and it was wonderful. Immediate connection, and ever since we kept it up, we've been seeing each other twice a week until now. And we play the flute every day. We never run out of things to talk about. I love hearing about her life. Tanya, I'm so glad we met and you came into my life and brought the native flute with you. I love hearing your stories, and thank you to Grace that you brought the two of us together. It was a match made in heaven.
My name is Mary Lord, and I am one of the music therapists here at Grace Hospice. I also have the privilege of supervising the music therapy team and the massage therapy team here. What we are able to do is use music as the vehicle that can help address people's physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. During COVID, the music therapy team has had to be really creative. We were immediately restricted from making in-person visits to our patients and came up with some really unique ways that we could keep seeing them and virtually making visits to them, and also staying connected with our patients' families and our own colleagues. I remember the first telehealth visit that I did. One of our wonderful nurses was on the other end holding the iPad so that I could visit a patient of ours. So on my first day of seeing her through a computer, I was singing songs and hymns that had been favorites of hers, and we ended up planning her funeral service and choosing the music that she would like played at that time. It was something far more than I expected to happen in that first virtual session together. Another creative way that music therapists have been connecting with patients at this time is window visits, outside visits. It helped that as we were coming into summertime with warmer temperatures, we were able to see people with a pane of glass between us. And we had one music therapist, Julie, was able to be outside, sort of standing in an awkward alley in some bushes with the patient on the inside. But the beautiful part of that was the patient's husband would also meet her, and they would stand outside the window together and sing many, many songs to his dear wife, our patient, who was inside the facility. And they really built a neat relationship throughout the summertime. Music has the capacity to touch people in such a special way that it is so important for us to continue offering these visits in any capacity that we can.
My name is Renee, and I'm an RN case manager with Grace Hospice. I love working at Grace Hospice. It's the best hospice I've ever worked at. It's very family orientated. And I think that every single one of us would say, when somebody would ask us, how do you do this job, or why do you do this job? We would all say, how can we not do it?
My name is Sharon Claflin, and I'm an LPN with Grace Hospice. I actually love working in hospice for a lot of different reasons. One of the biggest ones is the compassion and the care that we're able to give to people at the end of life.
With Grace Hospice, we have such a big team. Each team member is so important. And it was really hard for our team members not to be able to go into buildings and to see people that they had cared for 2 weeks, 6 months, 2 years. Everybody really missed, connecting with the patients. And so that was really hard on the staff that were not allowed to come into the building. We did a lot of FaceTiming with families, nurse practitioners, doctors, even our music therapist. We were doing music via FaceTime so Mary could play to people.
If you think about how we connect as people, we use our facial expressions. We smile, we laugh, we express love. All of those emotions come through your face. And during this time, the patients are looking at a face shield, goggles, a face mask. All of that personal touch that they're getting, all of the facial expressions are missing. And we convey love through smiles, through laughter, through voice. And that piece has been missing. It's hard. That's the hard part. And with doing the FaceTime visits, they have the opportunity to see their loved one's face, to see their eyes, to see their smile, and to actually hear their voice better. So that's kind of why I love doing them.
My name is Hunter Cantrell, and I first started volunteering at Grace Hospice in 2017 while I was undergoing chemotherapy for Hodgkin's lymphoma. I wanted to engage in volunteerism that felt fulfilling, but in which I could also give back to people who were in a similar situation, facing their own mortality and struggles as I was at the time. There's really nothing more humbling than being able to visit with somebody as they near the transition from this life to the next. We found a really interesting innovation to still facilitate volunteer visits in the use of a robot who became my friend named Rosie. It's one of the highlights of my week to be able to use Rosie. It has a two-way video camera, and I can navigate her right from my laptop at home. But you know what? Let me introduce you to her. She's here right now. Come on, Rosie. That's right. Oh, perfect. Well, as you can see, by working with my friend Rosie here, I've still been able to communicate and to engage in weekly volunteer visits with my patient and her family, as a matter of fact. And I really want to show you what she can do. So, Rosie, don't be shy. Let's show them what you can do. Well, thank you, Rosie. It's always nice to see you. Take care. Well, as you can see, Rosie gets my face in the room, but it's more than just the video that creates the connection. It's talking with people. It's visiting, it's sharing stories. And although this pandemic has made it incredibly difficult to do that in person, we don't have to be so far away from one another.
My name is Lisa Rucker, and I'm a hospice aide. As soon as I got into hospice, I found out that it was my calling. Being able to be there to comfort them, and even the possibility of holding their hand to the next journey. I am the one who goes in and gives them a shower and then assists with feeding and being there for them. I was able to cut hair, even set the hair and anything that they wanted. I've had patients that had told me, "Thank you, I feel like myself again." Just to see the smile on their faces was rewarding. We are doing everything that we can to take care of your loved ones and your family.
So the best way to describe my dad is how we wrote about him on his prayer card at his funeral service. Clarence was a kind, gentle man who lived a happy and humble life based on very simple rules. Trust in God, be nice, work hard, and love unconditionally. He taught us that time is more valuable than money. Thank yous are not optional but mandatory. And you never say goodbye or goodnight without a hug and a kiss. His strong Catholic faith helped ease the fear that often comes with dying and allowed us to see the beauty in the incredibly powerful journey he was on. When he was ready, he passed on just as he lived, quietly, peacefully, beautifully. So my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer at the beginning of March. And at 94 years old, the treatment options weren't plenty, and he just wanted to live the rest of his life. He went from the hospital back to where he was living with his wife in assisted living, and over time, a few weeks went by, maybe a month, and it wasn't the right fit anymore. He didn't want to say it, so I did, and I said, "Dad, you need to come to my house to live." And that's what he did. And it was beautiful. He lived. He laughed. He ate and he drank and we talked and we had pajama parties and he was able to go for walks and be outside and have treatment and people could come see him and he'd be able to be taken care of a little bit better. It was a more peaceful and quiet environment for him to be in. he lived. And it was the most beautiful 5 weeks that we could have ever asked for. It was hard, and I never knew how hard it'd be, but I also never knew how absolutely beautiful it would be. I'm so grateful. We, as a family, would not have been able to do it without Grace. So early on, when my dad was still living at assisted living and the world was changing, we would talk on the phone every day, and I was saying to him, Dad, things are just crazy out there. I mean, his assisted living was closing down, and the hospice team wasn't able to get in as regularly as they should have, and I was all worked up over it, and Clarence, in his very kind and simple ways, took a deep breath and sighed, and he said, Missy, you just have to live through the craziness. And that carried me through. I say it over and over, and I kept saying to my girlfriends, I need to make a t-shirt out of that. And I decided to make a pillow, because you can't wear a t-shirt every single day, but a pillow can be in your home, and it can be a great reminder. So here it is. Live through the craziness, because Clarence says so.
Well, I hope this was an uplifting start to your morning. I am so inspired and proud of this team, their strength and their passion. We are seeing the shift back to heightened awareness and increasing cases with the second wave of COVID, which was expected. The difference this time is we have experience and have had time to get creative. We will continue to be present in whatever form is allowed, and will strive for creativity to meet the needs of our patients and families. Grace Hospice will continue to be present and bring the presence of comfort and care wherever and however possible, no matter the obstacle. Thank you for supporting Grace Hospice with your thoughts and prayers. We need your continued support and ask you to consider providing financial support today as well. We have a silent auction happening right now that will be open until 5 p.m. today, and donations can be made by clicking the donate button on the screen. And while you browse the auction and make your donations, please enjoy the incredible creativity and talent of our music therapist, Michaela, who wrote and recorded this song to the heartbeat of one of our patients. Your support is so appreciated. Have a wonderful day.
In Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song. This cornerstone is solid ground, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are stilled, when striving cease. My comforter, my all in all, here in the love of Christ I stand. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless babe, this gift of love and righteousness, scorned by the ones he came to save, till on that cross as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied, for every sin on him was laid. Here in the death of Christ I live. There in the ground his body lay, light of the world, my darkness slain. Then bursting forth on glorious day, up from the grave he rose again. And as he stands in victory, since curse has lost its grip on me, for I am his and he is mine, bought with the precious blood of Christ. No guilt in life, no fear in death, this is the power of Christ in me. From life's first cry to final breath, Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand, till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand.